My boss refused to let me leave when my house caught fire, so I quit on the spot. I did IT support at Morrison & Associates, a mid-sized law firm in downtown Seattle, and my boss Kevin loved acting like a bully. He tracked brakes, hovered over our shoulders, and talked down to anyone he thought he could push around. People even asked him for permission to use the bathroom, and he acted like it was normal. I kept my head down because I needed the job, and because in IT, there's always some urgent problem that can't wait. Then one Thursday afternoon in November, my phone lit up with my neighbor, Mrs. Wong. She's an older lady who only calls when it's serious, so I answered fast. Her voice was shaking as she said my house was on fire, and the fire truck was already there. My stomach dropped, and I could hear sirens and shouting through her phone. I grabbed my jacket and keys and ran across the office, almost slipping on the polished floor. A couple people at the front desk stared at me, but nobody said a word. Through the big windows by reception, I could see dark smoke rising from my neighborhood, only a few blocks away. Even inside, the air smelled faintly burnt, like someone left something too long on a stove. I didn't knock on Kevin's door. I pushed it open and told him my house was burning and I had to leave right now. He didn't look up. His fingers kept tapping on his keyboard like I hadn't spoken. He asked if I finished the server backup he assigned me that morning. I said no, because my house was on fire and my neighbor was outside with firefighters. Kevin sighed and asked again if the backup was done, like that was the only thing he heard. I said it wasn't done and I was going home. He finally looked at me and gave that little smirk I'd grown to hate. He said I wasn't going anywhere and that I didn't get to leave tasks unfinished and expect the world to pause. I told him this wasn't a late lunch and my house was literally burning. Kevin leaned back and told me not to be dramatic. Then he said, clear as day, that my personal problems didn't stop work for him and the backup had to be finished before I left the building. My phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Wong, then another, then a video. Flames were climbing out of my front window and firefighters were blasting water at what used to be my roof. My hands were shaking, but I held the screen out and told him this was happening right now. Kevin watched maybe 2 seconds and shrugged. He said insurance would handle it, and what mattered was the firm staying online. I waited for him to admit it was a joke, but he just tapped his desk and told me to sit down and finish. I tried once more and told him I could call the other IT guy to cover the backup and I'd make it up later. Kevin shook his head and said no handoff, and that accountability meant I finished what I started. Then he added, calm as anything, that if I walked out, he'd mark it as job abandonment. I asked if he really wanted me to lose my job instead of going to my own house fire. Kevin said he wanted me to do my job, and he started talking about court deadlines and how a failed backup would be on me. Outside his door, I heard footsteps pause, like someone was listening in the hall. Kevin raised his voice on purpose and asked if we were done, like I was being difficult. My phone rang again from an unknown number, and a firefighter told me they needed to confirm nobody was inside. I said nobody was inside, and Kevin snapped at me to hang up. I covered the phone and told him I was talking to the fire department. Kevin stepped closer and pointed at the clock on his wall, and he said I was on company time. I told the firefighter to do what they could and ended the call with my hands still shaking. Then something in me went very quiet and very clear, like a switch flip. He wasn't confused, and he wasn't too busy. He was choosing this. So I opened an email to HR and the senior partners and typed what he said, word for word, while he watched. Kevin told me not to dare, like he could stop my thumb. I hit send. Kevin's face tightened, and he told me to finish the backup again, like repeating it would make it true. I looked him in the eye and told him the truth, that I quit. His smirk vanished, and he said I couldn't just walk out because I was on the schedule. I pulled my badge off and set it on his desk next to my keys and told him to watch me. His voice turned sharp, and he demanded my admin passwords before I left. I said no, and told him to ask HR in writing. Kevin's face went red, and he said if I left, I'd be finished in this city. I opened his door anyway, and walked into the hall while he called my name behind me. In the elevator, I hit the lobby button so hard, my knuckle hurt, and my phone kept buzzing in my pocket. The doors opened, and I ran out into the street toward the smoke without Elle.